Welcome to the Unity Consciousness event, where we are having heart and soul-led conversations to uplift and empower our awakening. In this Unity Consciousness event, we are going to be focusing on you are your purpose, remembering to know, love, and embody yourself. And today we have Nalini MacNab with us. Thank you for being here with us today, Nalini.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So everyone, welcome into the field. And as you know, we've been opening every day and every conversation with a short heart coherence grounding meditation. So we'll begin that, and then I'll introduce Nalini and we'll flow with our conversation. So welcome in everyone, and just welcoming you and inviting you to take a deep breath in, welcoming yourself here to the space, to this conversation. And as you breathe into your body, just welcoming yourself to your body with your breath, following your breath in and out, and inviting yourself more and more here and now. Welcoming your breath to support you and allowing any other distractions to fade away if you can. Welcoming your awareness to be here, to fully listen, to fully take in and receive what's here for you in this moment. Allowing any cords from anybody, any place, anything to gently release from your body and your space that are no longer needed, and inviting your energy back into your body, into your space. Taking a breath and welcoming a beautiful white golden light through the center of your heart to allow your presence to deepen within the pure heart of yourself, your pure being, your pure self. And with Nalini and myself, allowing our hearts to connect in this pure way. So all that is shared here in this moment brings forth the greatest amount of reception, transformation, healing, integration that is possible for you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing yourself to be here. And Nalini, would love to hear what intention you have for the space today.
The intent that source is flowing through me at the moment is that the source that flows as Nalini and the source that flows as Kristen form a woven space, a bond with the source of all that is, as the source of all that is. And that includes everyone who will ever listen and partake in this shared space.
Beautiful. And so it is. Thank you, Nalini. And thank you, the source of all that is, to flow through. Yes. My intention is that all that are here receive deeply to support the unified field and the resonance of all that we are, to uplift and empower us to lead a heart and soul led life. So thank you. Thank you. Beautiful intention, Nalini. Oh, wow. And so for those of you who know her, thank you for being here. And those of you who this is your first time, I will introduce her. Nalini was born in the house of my mother's spiritual teacher. Well, I'll say it from Nalini, was born in the house of my
My
mother's
mother's.
spiritual teacher. Yep. Who could fill a room with visible light. After 33 years of dedicated spiritual study and realization with awakened teachers, I knew what enlightenment was. Even so, in 1993, the goddess grabbed me and redefined everything I knew about awakening and source. I share from the unique perspective of the Divine Mother. Her nurturing, nourishing acknowledgement, acceptance, support, and cherishing qualities have been misinterpreted, and their potential is largely misunderstood. We all have divine light within us. We all have the potential to live from our source essence. On the path of self-awareness and awakening, information is secondary to experience. I teach by helping you recognize the experience of your light and by assisting you in letting go of the shoulds, what are now obsolete traditions. My invitation is to become an embodied emanation of the source that you are, a unique and precious fractal of all that is. Ooh, yes, I love this. Thank you. Thank you for providing these beautiful words of your wisdom to support, what we're going to be exploring today. And just share, I'm Kristen Bielecki, your host, and I'm a soul embodiment guide, and I'm passionate about similar things that you are, Nalini, just really getting people into the experience of themselves. And I think that really goes along with you are your purpose, this whole topic of this event. And so just like to open it up to you and hear from you what you are feeling called to share around that.
Wow. There's been so much for so many years. Well, from the get-go for me
Mhm.
about um I was one of those beings. I'm certainly not the only one. There are more of us than we know, who came in where that wasn't a question. That was even, it was just, oh, hello, in this body, and this is a little strange. This will take a little getting used to, but
Mm,
this is the light, and this is a way of bringing that being that on this world at this time. And I wouldn't,
mhm.
as a toddler, I would not have had those words,
Yeah.
the language, but the knowing was
Mhm,
there. And
mhm,
part of the conversations that I have with people in one-on-ones and in the transmissions that Source brings through me is that remembering. Gaia is within a time of great remembering now. This is the
mhm,
great reveal where the veils start to get pulled back, and they have been since June solstice of 2011. Bit by bit, things have been being pulled back, but all of this is happening within us. And so, as we first notice, then acknowledge, then begin to accept that there is a source unfoldment that is right here, like for me, for
mhm,
you, for everybody.
mhm,
And this is what's happening right now. And this is your purpose. You are that purpose. You are the purpose of the unfolding light in and on this world. And some of it is being seeded. There's new seeding happening all the time. I mean, look at the trees. They do this for a living. There's a
mhm.
seeding that happens all the time. But there's also the learning, a Gaian incarnation for those of us who know we are star seeds, star streams, whatever, know we are of the light, which is more and more people.
Mhm.
Um, it's an immersive learning experience. And so the immersive learning experience is, well, this is how it is to be unlimited and function within parameters. And it's not so much, can I find my purpose? Because as the whole topic of the seminars,
Yeah,
you are your purpose. But
yeah,
that takes some doing when
yeah.
the human mind is conditioned in other ways. It's,
Mhm,
I've been taught this, you've been taught that. Is there any commonality? And the truth is, we are that commonality. The love and the light that we are is that
mhm,
commonality. So, my most recent experience personally with that, you are your purpose, is I was taking some astrology courses from Alan Clay at the Dwarf Planet University. And the particular one, which is it's actually relevant right now because the dwarf planet Sedna is barreling toward Gaia at love speed. But
mhm,
she's just entered Gemini, a new sign. She's
mhm.
been in another sign for quite a while. And the way that this particular dwarf planet is placed in my chart, just it's the config file we come in with. We get
Yeah.
dialed in, we go, okay, that one, and we that's optimal for what there was.
Mhm,
Well, she's placed so that she's right in the first house. She's right in this perfect alignment where the phrase that Alan used to describe it was, you are your spiritual destiny. It can't really be described any other way, but that's all of us.
yeah. Mhm, mhm. Beautiful. Well said. Well said. Absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciate what you said about the great remembering. I was sitting in meditation the other day and was actually, working on some things, and this whole thing just came in as like the great remembrance. This is the great remembrance, and that's what I was instilling in that whole, line of remembering to know, love, and embody yourself. Is not, it's the great remembering is that, and from there, everything else flows. And you seem to be very embodied in that, wisdom, like you said, is from a young child. You came in like going, okay, here we are. And it sounds like you had a beautiful welcome into this world,
Yes.
that you were surrounded by, the support and the guides in physical form for who you are to be in this life. And so, uh, sounds like you had, a life fulfilled of, spiritual support on very deep levels. And one of the things that stuck out, what you said is really beautiful. But I'm really curious of what it is that you're bringing through the divine feminine
Uh,
for this time.
for right now, it's it's so much just source and how and I'm going to use the pronoun she, but
Mhm.
how she brings through a new understanding, a new way of being. It's not new at all. It's inherent
Mhm.
within all of us, but
Yeah.
from the way human minds and human collective has been conditioned, it's even then, it's not exactly new, but it's that
Mhm.
resurgence of the feminine energy. So,
Mhm.
in my understanding of energy, it's a little odd for me to separate masculine and feminine. It's like source is
Mhm.
source,
Yeah.
but we genderize because that's the biological imperative here, and it's what we do.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's that. And how this comes through this configuration um, is how whatever's needed at the moment,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it's at its foundation, it has to do with what is nurturing, nourishing. You can add sustainable in there, but supportive, accepting, and cherishing
Mhm.
of that universal love, universal light within each of us. And that nurturing, that mothering, if you will,
Mhm.
has, as we all know, been denigrated, maligned, all, we could use all those words. It's reawakening into a balance. There's a
Mhm.
balance that's happening. And so what comes through me, there isn't a person here having an agenda. I mean, I'm sure there was at one point. I can sort of remember that, but it's just that source comes through and says, "Okay, here's the balancing needed." And sometimes healing happens through that. It's foundational. It's energetic.
Mhm.
Um, I always tell people, go see a healer, but it's letting that sustainable nurturing come through. It really is about nurturing, and it's a kind of power that has been denied to certain sections of energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's bringing that, letting that come through, and it's really nothing we do except allow. When we
Mhm.
allow and choose to receive, because for the most part we don't know how at that level. It's when we allow and choose to receive. This is part of the opening that source brings through me, that transmits through me and says, well, you are that. Here's how it feels. Here's how it is within you. And it's unique and precious to each of us.
Mhm. Yeah, I really appreciate the words and the energy that's coming forth through that, the nurturing, the sustaining, the cherishing. And it's something that I feel that when we're in there present with ourselves, we can really give ourselves that nourishment. And as you're speaking about it, what's been coming forth for me, because a lot, that those words have been coming through a lot, in groups. And when I'm leading people, it's like, oh, let's nurture ourselves, and the self-care that comes with that, which may be that mothering of self that we're learning to have to kind of do now in a way, because a lot of times we're in the what I'm seeing kind of shift in people right now, and what's coming alive is this recognition of maybe codependency, or the recognition of how we're anticipating or expecting that nourishment to come from an external source. and we're giving and we're recognizing, oh wow, it's time to step from those outer authorities, or maybe the wounds from our past of where maybe we didn't receive it as a child, and that the tenderness that comes with that, and of being able to learn how to so care deeply so much for ourselves that we're choosing, the experiences and really listening, to what is nourishing and nurturing for us to stabilize and strengthen the system so we can remember and know and love ourselves, right? And so what do you share with people to support them in being able to embody that and embrace that experience?
Oh, there have been many things over the years according to what was energetically appropriate for the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Works. Most lately, it has to do with the old cycles is has ended,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we are no longer in the ending times. We are in the new beginning times, and
Yes.
it's a lot of chaos, and it's
Yeah.
sorting hat, threshing floor, and sieving all at once. But it's also just the ability or cultivating the ability to let go of all that no longer serves. It's one of the expressions that's popular. And also
Mhm.
just especially the identities, all that we no longer need to be.
Mhm.
We have played roles that no longer have relevance,
Yeah.
and we might love some of them.
Yes.
Well, I had one student, she was one of my first, what do they call it, mentees, one of the people I was mentoring. And I remember in an early session, she kind of whined, and this is a really strong person. She says, but I love being Italian. And we both laughed because I said, well, you can love it as much as you want to. That's partly the point.
Mhm.
It's just there's an identity there
Yeah.
that is supportive, does come genetically programmed and imprinted by the family, but it has limitations. So it's the limitations that need to dissolve. So part of what gets pointed out is, well, here are all these wonderful ways that you are the truth and you see the truth and the incredible being that you are. And there are these little filters and limitations over here that you have not yet seen through.
Mhm.
It's not a
Mhm.
fault, it's not a wrong, it's not anything that can be blamed. It's just these are parameters that no longer need to be there. And to the developed personality, what's left of ego, ego gets a bad rap, but we need a user interface for the planet, you know?
Yeah.
We have to have something. But for those programs, being told that their job description is obsolete and they are being obsoleted is terrifying.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the way that we say we react or a person reacts, it's not the core reacting at all. It's those patterns. I mean, we know that,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it's letting them understand that they can be soothed and comforted
Mhm.
and that their energies will be repurposed. You know, one of the energy, I don't know what to call it, a technique or whatever, source just does this, is to draw in all of the energies that are in a particular pattern, let it come into a Gordian knot first, and then just implode
Mhm.
into the white light. And then it supernovas. And then all that energy is released
Yeah.
for however it needs to be used by each of us. And our minds won't know that. Our source essence knows that. You know,
Mhm.
universal light, people talk about light love. Is there a difference? Well, in my experience, I'm not claiming to know, but in my experience, light is the intelligence quotient of divine love, divine creative force. It
Mhm.
knows what to do because it
Yeah.
is the doer. How could it be any other way?
Yeah.
And yet, all of our stuff, all of the stuff, not even that we insist on, although we do that a lot, even what we think we've let go of, there's going to be a shell program. There's going to be an identity there. So it's kind of working with that
Mhm.
and saying, all right, this could shift, this could soften and be more fluid and be
Mhm.
more filled with source in a way that might be surprising, might be very familiar, might be very remembered and feel like a huge relief. It generally does, but it's also just how can this soften and flow and be cared for in a different way?
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate that with the identity piece, because I share that a lot too. Is like, okay, let's look at the identities that are at play, like you said beautifully, that are limiting. So we can still use them as an operative force in our life that needs that expression, but then where does it just need to be adjusted? And so I like, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation with this part of ourself, make it our friend, or the ego our friend, rather than something that's just a subconscious program that gets spit out, that we're like, oh wait, okay, let's sit down and see how we want to move forward. And I'm grateful for your expression, because obviously you're a part of life and this expression, and there was some purpose. And like you said, just calling our energy back from those things too that are no longer necessary. And as in, I like that expression, the light equals love, which, equals it knows what to do. So when we recognize as ourselves that light, then we're like, oh, then we're love. Oh, then we know, we know what to do, and it kind of brings it home. Right. And as you're speaking, and in the beginning, as you were talking about Gaia and Gaia's shift in great remembrance too, what are you receiving from Gaia and the living consciousness of Gaia right now, through this shift?
She's excited. She's just that
Mhm.
chuffed. I mean, this is just, it's like you can feel all of the elements of Gaia just wriggling in joy that this is happening. And from our human perspective, we could say finally, but
Yeah.
I don't know that that really applies to her. She's just like, yes, this is the next expansion, and you could just feel it's
Mhm.
looks energetically the way that sand liquefies in an earthquake,
Yeah.
but it's all the structures, all of her elements are just doing that. And it's so amazing that all of her elements, all of her creature beings, especially the trees, are just holding space, holding the alignment, and yet it keeps shifting all the time. It's very fluid, but there's just this excitement and joy. I mean, joy is what's going to get us through.
Yes, yes, absolutely. 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 I feel that. And that's interesting, because just before we got on this together, I was leading a group, and that's what came through, is like, there's this beautiful, I was just seeing this beautiful foundation of joy just in the plane of earth and in the plane of everyone present, of like, one, as we're embodying ourselves, what's there, the joy of life,
Mhm.
because we're not in opposition to life anymore through our identities or our misconceptions or our wounds or all of that. And it's just, I get to be here. And then
Yes,
yeah.
part of it, part of that harmonious whole, that is nature, that is life. I mean,
Mhm.
that's if there's a meant to be, I think that's a little fixed wording, but I don't have other words right now. That's it. That's our experience.
Mhm.
You know, the last cycle had martyrdom as its foundation. Now, whoever thought that was a good idea, I don't know. But there was all of that stuff about merit badges, no pain, no gain merit badges, and
Right.
racks of medals for that. And that's over. It's gone. And it's
Yes.
a habit that for our programs and our programming, it is difficult to break. They're not written that way. For those of you who've written code, it's not written that way. And so that energy all needs to be softened and relaxed and
Mhm. Mhm.
repurposed. And source does that. Our minds don't. Hearts as source do.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. I've been watching that sacrificial energy, really shift. We watch how that plays out in so many ways. And one of the ways, I think goes along with the theme of you are your purpose, is there's this, there's been a theme in, spiritual communities and stuff, is to live your purpose, right? And it's always like this external thing that you're doing or creating, and then you're sacrificing yourself and maybe your well-being and whatever it is to achieve
Mhm.
this thing, your mission, rather than going, oh, wait, maybe if I bring that within, I get to experience all of this that I think I need to be creating out there. And
Mhm.
then I get to, express it. And it just becomes the expression. And that's how we create that source energy, or wholeness or harmonious, experience that you spoke about.
Yeah. I mean, does it seem to you, Kristen, it's just been my experience, but I'm wondering, like, as we become that expression, it's no longer looking or doing or any of this, but as we become it, it radiates through us
Mhm.
and it knows what to do.
Yeah.
And we get to go along for the ride.
Mhm.
What a relief. We don't have to press on the gas. We don't have to steer. It's like, and it's not a passive stance at all.
Right.
It's an active being and listening and radiating. I mean, do you find that that's,
Yeah. I feel that within myself as well. It just becomes a place of being. Like you're just noticing what's coming through and you're listening and it's just like the invitations, the inspirations, the motivations, and it's just like, oh, here we are. Okay. And this is coming forward, this opportunity. And then it's just like that alignment, our as the word that we use a lot is align. Are we aligned with that opportunity? And it's like, oh yes, because my energy wants to flow into that. Or no, I want to go over here, and it's just it becomes that dance of life. And when you said that earlier about, the mind can't do that. The heart can. And I think that's what we're returning to, as you were speaking to before, with the divine feminine or source in that expression, right? As source is that nurturing, and that nourishing is coming into our hearts again, and really leading life from that space of co-creation, of ourself with this beautiful divine essence of our bodies that was meant to just constantly spiral our source creative energy through our bodies. And there's nothing else we have to do because it's always doing it.
yes, exactly. Exactly. Our job, if there is one, is just to get out of the way.
And I like how you express that, the active being, because it isn't passive. It's not like we're not, in creation mode. We don't have to do anything. It's like, oh, we're so engaged with it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so engaging. And, even when we have our challenging moments and stuff, there's that generative energy within us because we've come into that state of what we call maybe surrender into, right? Into that centered balancedness of the source essence that we are. That it's like, ooh, let that flow and remember that that's just a part of maybe what you said. Everything's imploding and the new energy is coming. So we got to let go of this. And, maybe it's screaming for a little while, but we just let it have its expression and then we keep moving, rather than coming into that contracted state of something's wrong. We're seeing it all as source, right? We're seeing it
Well,
all as source.
that is unity consciousness, right?
Yes, indeed.
It's the all, it's source, it's all the
Mhm.
particles, all the fractals exist in unity consciousness. And we
Yeah.
call forth whatever resonates here.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to have unity and duality are not the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
just everything is there, everything comes through it, everything's possible. There are varying degrees of probability on this world, but
Mhm.
that has to do mostly when we have an expectation for specifics. It's the thing most of us know that there's a way to just call it forth and then let go. That's
Mhm.
the surrender. And I don't know about you, but the level of surrender that we're being called to, and it's not even an ask anymore. It's, thou shalt trust this level, and the plan is no, or else there's just, that's the way it is right now. And
Yeah.
I'm finding it fascinating. It's on the one hand, it's kind of graduate school, and on the other hand, it's starting over. We're all in the K class here of this is trust at a whole different level.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
we do that, it works.
Absolutely. It's that deep trust in the surrender moment. Like you just said, it's like there's no place to say no anymore, right? It's like I have to flow with this, or else what happens? We end up in a little bit maybe of more chaos because we're in resistance, or we're not allowing ourselves to go along with it. And yeah, that next level it's yeah, I like how you said that. It's like we kind of mastered a certain level, and now it's like, ooh, now we're in preparation grounds of this new beginning
Mhm.
to learn how to navigate and let that trust and that flow so profoundly through us, so that when the specifics do come in, we can
Mhm.
really receive them
Yes.
rather than trying to seek the specifics.
Mhm.
When we know it's a yes, we're just like, it's a yes, great. How it's gonna land, not sure yet. Maybe, but the specifics will come because when we're in that divine alliance of ourself, then it just we know, and that's like the level of trust that, I think creates that teeter-totter of of the mind heart connection, right? Or the soul body heart mind connection. And then once we can step into that fulcrum point, it's like, oh wait, right. I'm inviting the specifics to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
choosing not to filter. I mean, I love that you use the word alignment because everything is alignment. Alignment is not linear, though. And this is
Yeah.
something I think all of our minds are learning at deeper and deeper and deeper levels.
Mhm.
It's fascinating to be in that flow,
Mhm.
and as you say, when we resist, which it's not the core of our being that does that.
Mhm.
This is where we need that inner valuing and inner love because we know that's not the part of us that's doing this. It's, oh, here are these programs that aren't working. And this little eddy or this little rock in the middle of the stream is showing us that.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for the immersive lesson. Let's let it go and see what happens
Mhm. Mhm.
instead of,
Absolutely.
you know, clinging on. And
Yeah. Or judging it or getting frustrated or upset with it, So it's what's coming through is recognizing that, as you said, it's like I feel like we're children again, right? We're in kindergarten again or pre-K,
very
wherever
much
we're at, right? And so how would you like that child to be treated? And so when those obstacles do come up, it's going, wow, okay. What would a child do? Usually they jump over it or, they don't sit there and
bounce
bash it, they're like, oh,
yeah,
let's go around it or,
exactly. Go
climb
around,
over it.
climb, build a fort. I mean,
Yes.
whatever's fun. And
Move it out of the way.
yeah, yeah, or like, and then run.
Yeah,
I mean, just
yeah, yeah.
all of those things, they're not childish, they're childlike.
Mm-hmm.
That fun, we need to follow it. And
Yeah.
I find with people I work with, I mean, it's everyone, they're just the poster children, but it's all these really cool things will be happening. And then there's, well, what if I choose the wrong one? Or is this right? Or did this happen? And I'm like, okay, let's look at what's in your field right now. Now, most of that looks pretty cool, one way and another.
Uh-huh.
Now, close your eyes, center. Now, your source knows which one is it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just know.
Yeah. So again, it's letting that mind go again.
Our minds have to be completely retrained. I think our bodies are being
Yeah.
recreated
Oh,
from
yeah.
inside out at the cellular level and
Mm-hmm.
watching it happen in meditation. It's so cool. It's also strange, but
Yeah.
it's what we came for, I think.
Yeah, everything that, everyone who may be listening that you're experiencing right now, and anything that we and you are experiencing right now on a physical level, it's like the whole operating system is like, oh, whoa, okay. How we used to function has to shift for this new frequency and this new expression to come through. And so, I think for me, the way I'm engaging with it is all our programs, like you said earlier, of limitation,
Mhm.
whether it's our abilities, whether it's our, aging or not aging, whatever it is like, wait, we're light. How
Yes.
does this light really want to flow and be digested and be created? And, as the magnetism and everything is shifting on the planet, our body's got to shift with it. And so we may not sleep the same. We may not, digest the same. We may not. So it's going, okay. And I just bring, support people in coming back into the present. What do you need right now?
Right now, exactly.
That's it, right now.
What's needed right now. I mean, no more regimens, no more. I mean, it's not that there hasn't been value in all of that, but
Yeah.
all of that has changed. The intrinsic internal value hasn't changed, but
Mhm.
the application is being regrown, rewoven. through us. And so it's right now in the moment. And we were taught, we were trained that, oh, find something that works and then keep repeating that. That it won't, because this is shifting sometimes daily, sometimes hourly.
Mhm.
And I yes, it's challenging. Yes, it is. I think for all of us, but it's also just really fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
as the star beings that we know ourselves to be, is this fun? I mean, this is fun. You know? I mean, we kind of waited to be
Yeah.
able to go zip zip, and we are internally, if not,
Mhm.
necessarily all the way through the physical, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
do we decide the timing? Well, no. I mean, the source within us does, but it's
Mhm.
not where we can make a mental decision.
Yeah.
It's, we have to do that, like at a stoplight, we have to do that, or we have to do that for certain things, but because that's the way the world is, but it's coming from a different place. For me, I think for you too, Kristen, the experience of unity consciousness is that all of that comes from a different place. It is resourced from the true source instead
Mhm.
of what we've made it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I hear through that and what's been coming alive for me more and more is always choosing love. Always choosing love. And it's been such a profound, transmuting energy for me in all sorts of situations. And, because I want to come from that place, that's my like integrity, that's my value, and that's who I am. And so when I realize I'm not, it's like, oh, wait, where's that pinpoint in me? And always bringing it back to myself instead of looking out there and saying, what's going on? It's more like, oh, what's going on in here has nothing to do with that. That was a reflection, and I get to sit with it. So can I choose to love myself through that experience? And then, whoa, it's like the gateways just blow open, and have expanded just this settledness, this deep settledness within me that then gets to be brought into all the other situations and experiences of my life. And then from there, I've been out also just like, because in the past I've tended to be like more serious and just like super directed and focused, and I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm on this path and blah. And now it's like for months now I've just been like, I'm calling in laughter and relaxation and fun and play, and it's just naturally arising because I'm inviting it, on a real level of like, wow, what is this going to create for me in my life? And I'm really excited about what it is creating for me and how it's creating. And so just recognizing how simple the shifts can be when we're in that space of just,
Mhm.
ah, yeah,
Yeah.
relishing and inviting it.
What I'm hearing as you're talking is you're opening to receive the truth of you.
Mm-hmm.
And we've forgotten that we're these joyous, life of the party kind of individuals, but in Source's way. Even the choice
Yeah.
for love is we have to let go of all the human definitions of that. I've had
Yep.
to,
Yeah,
anyway.
me too.
Like, well, I think this is what love means. Well, I mean, there's one of the healing modalities that I've studied, and there have been many,
Mhm.
has to do with pathological emotional patterns. And one of them is love is fill in the blank. And there are as infinite blank fillers as there are thoughts, beings, feelings. But it's really
Yeah.
interesting because that gets a hold. Even in our heart space, it says, well, love is this. So if I'm choosing love or from love, I'm choosing from this. And even
Mhm.
that now, it's all getting rewritten, dissolved,
Yeah.
shredded, and repurposed because Source's definition of love, it really is just is the creative force.
Yeah.
I love the Hindu definition of the goddess Durga, where she is the invincible force.
Mm-hmm.
And that is love. That is universal love. It
Yeah.
creates, it also absolutely disassembles when something needs to be brought down. And it's surgical. Her daughter is Kali, and
Mm-hmm.
Kali tends to perform the surgery. Durga sort of sits there and says, well, when it gets really bad,
Yes.
but I love that feeling because as we relax into that, it's what happens for me is it's so powerful. Like my body wouldn't think you could relax into a fire hose, but as you become that and it flows through and as you,
Mhm.
just part of that sacred feminine energy, it is that power, then it's really not a problem. It's not an issue. There's nothing to be afraid of. And it's really surprising what it accomplishes, what it
Mhm.
does through us. And I've
Mhm.
watched it with others. It's like even just some of the iconic people in the world that we think about, look what that force did through that being
Yeah.
in that way, in that time, and that expression for that moment was perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely gone through, that transformative process of dissolving, the definitions and ideas of what love is, because when I experience it in just its pure raw form, it's formless. It just flows. There's nothing to attach to it. It just is. And that creates that pure presence and that pure knowing and that pure able to just embody what is and then see through that lens and engage on that level with life to where, okay, and then it deepens everything. It deepens our sense of self. It deepens that ability to navigate. It deepens our relationships with people. It deepens that, the access points of everything that we're, interacting with. And it's because, like, as you said, it is source. And um, yeah, yeah. So it's really profound.
Yeah.
So when you're in this space, so when we talk about these things, just maybe Nalini, because I can share, like kind of what it's like to flow from that space in life on a day-to-day basis. But then what does it feel like to you, like, in your day-to-day life when there are things that need to be done or things you're creating or whatever? How does that, look for you or feel for you?
Well, the way it acts through me, is I could say, just from our human English language, it's normal for
Mhm.
me. That's just how
Yeah.
things work. What I notice is when things wobble. And so I
Mhm.
notice right now how we're all back at the beginning because there's not more wobble, but it's different. I can very clearly see when a program has just taken hold and is running something, like an activity or whatever. And um, there's the larger part of me is sort of watching it with that little, how our four-leggeds go,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
never again. But um, the way that things become accomplished through me, like the writing that I do or the transmissions, I'm impulsed. And if I am engaged in an activity or something, sometimes I'll get a little tap between the shoulder blades in the back of the heart.
Mhm.
It's like, hello, there's
Mhm.
there's something coming through here. Um, and it's on autopilot at this point to just go, stop, breathe. Okay, let it come through. Not even ask what anymore because it comes too
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And just see what happens. And that can be with the what does my body need right now as far as nourishment?
Mhm.
It's become a whole different question than what would taste good right now, because that's not always a great answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. Um, and then also just thank you, like at the beginning of the day, thank you that everything that needs to be accomplished will be.
Yeah.
Thank you that I'm hearing, I'm listening, I'm actively listening, and that this simply acts out through me.
Mhm.
Before a transmission, Source gives me topics, but I never know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Never. Not, and that's been years now. I don't know, but
Mhm.
I trust I
Mhm.
will show up and Source shows up
Mhm.
as this, and she says what she wants to say.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
that's experience every day. Even things like I'll get a little prompt, um, order from the market now. And
Yeah.
that sounds silly, maybe, but
Mhm.
that will be the time, that will be the moment to do it,
Yeah. Mhm.
or go do this thing now. And what I've learned over practicing it is just follow that because it's so much easier for one thing than trying to second guess or decide or any of that. So a lot of things, from all of my prior lives in this life have fallen away because they're no longer needed. That was the learning immersion for that time. But with anything, I think we keep our wisdom. We get to keep the wisdom we've gained, and it's time to exit the schoolhouse. The old
Mm,
ones, like leave
yeah.
those lessons behind, keep the
Mhm.
wisdom because that's what Source does, and
Yeah.
then just let the old lessons go. So there's room for
Mhm.
allowing all of that new immersion that's coming in.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, the light codes that are coming in right now, that we're traveling through within Gaia, that are coming into her, that we're, it's, I mean, for a lot of the inner work that happens through me, it's about integration. What are we here to integrate?
Yeah.
And even that seems silly, but it's just there's all this integration happening through us. Let's see what can happen.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
that living by that impulse, Source's impulse, and not taking other actions unless it's something like brushing my teeth, but not taking other actions besides those,
Mhm. Mhm.
because those anymore, and maybe this is through the transition, maybe not, but the energetic tap will turn off, the energy will flatline. It's like take a step in a direction that you could say is ego based or just habit based, or just, this seems like the thing to do, but because the energy just goes out of it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay,
Mhm.
wait, pause, stop, breathe. Where did it go?
Mhm.
Where does it
Mhm.
want to go? So that's how it is to live that way for me. Anyway.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I just hear the word presence. You're just being present and listening and
Yeah.
allowing and acting. Like you said earlier, it's an active, it is an active being state. We're listening. It's like, oh, that's what to do now. Okay, great. I get to act with that. And it feels to me also when I'm in that space, it's very liberating because then I don't have to figure it out. It's just, oh, this is what we need to do right now. Okay, this is what's happening right now. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
And it releases that need, to uh, be directed, or it eliminates that doubt or confusion. It's just like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, great.
Yeah, I do. I do. It's a profound relief from the need to control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is part of that martyrdom system too that we're shifting from. I just see all the
Our
control just
our
like
bodies were
bottoming out.
born into it, we were trained in it, but be that as it may,
Mhm.
there's something new being birthed through us now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm watching through these light codes that are coming in through Gaia and through the sun and through, the cosmos, and how it's kind of all meeting, into our inner sun, the inner, code light, the codes of our body that are already present to activate and also meet and greet and say, oh, great, we get to be one again, and have this expression. I'm just seeing a lot, as we were talking about earlier, the heart within the solar plexus, because there's that place, that stance of shifting from, that contracted state of control to that open state of being in that divine source flow. And it's been really fascinating to see how that's, shifting people's perspective and the way they're choosing to engage with themselves in their life. Because I was like, oh, right. I'm in charge, but I'm not in charge, right? It's like the greater I is in charge, but the lower me that's coming from all those places gets to, like you say, gets to relax, gets to soften, gets to, ah, you
Well,
know,
right.
yeah,
Yes, and that it shifts as it takes more and more of a, contributing where needed,
yeah.
but more of a passenger seat. It does soften and relax, and
Mhm.
those parts become assimilated and integrated as well.
Yeah,
More fun.
exactly.
It feels better.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate what you just said, that assimilation, because they
Mhm.
do get assimilated. They're a part of the whole instead of trying to direct and bring everything along with it. It's like, no, they get to expand out. And then we have more energy and clarity to be ourselves because we're not in that, needing to direct the energy. We let the energy direct us. And so thank you. How beautiful it is to feel your energy and how you engage that way and how easily you share it.
Oh, this
So
is
thank
fun.
you. Yeah.
I mean, we spent so much of the old cycle delete, 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 right? And
Yeah.
on the one hand, it's understandable. On the
Mhm.
other hand, it's not possible. But I mean, not for the root energy, the foundational energy, the program. It's like the
Mhm.
identity, the structure of the program can be disassembled and then
Mhm.
that energy repurposed, and it's
Yeah.
source that does that. But
Mhm.
all that energy that we spent thinking we needed to get rid of stuff, it's no, it's all of that essence needs to come
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
here because that's what we incarnated to embody.
Yeah. Mm. Well said. Thank you. Yeah. Coming home. Coming home. So those are beautiful words to end with, but also, is there anything else that you are feeling called to share that would feel good to share with our audience right now?
Well, what's bubbling up are just a couple of things.
Mhm.
With everything that is shifting and repurposing, we could say purging, but it's really shifting and repurposing on the planet. A lot of it has to do with judgment and victim threads. All the threads, if you think the
Mhm.
little fibers of victim that are just in like mycelia with all of our other programs. So it may be hard to grasp them, but we don't need to go after them with the pincers. It's just let source
Yeah.
take care and
Mm.
let all of that energy repurpose itself and come home. It doesn't need to play those games anymore.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. The word I've been using for that lately is just let it compost.
Yes,
You know,
well put.
let it compost because it'll just become great fertile ground for the next piece. But definitely the judgment and the victim, I'm seeing that victimization definitely shifting in the field and just relinquishing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
beautiful. Well, thank you, Nalini.